One West, y'all. I'm Shy Excel, man. And let me tell you something. We different over here. We big steppers. Let's go.
Go get a big stepper. Hard body, One West rapper. Put on for my king, my niggas. Certified One West hitters, whoa. Go get a big stepper. Hard body, One West rapper. Put on for my king, my niggas. Certified One West hitters, whoa. Yo, what you say? No, we don't play you out your mind. Watch what you say, that type of shit could get you lined. And if you search, then let me tell you what you'll find. The city is mine. Just a mud who became the pick of the litter. Now my name ring bells when you talk heavy hitters. Nice nigga, but don't make me transform like Thriller. Sam Cooke a nigga beat like I was born by the river. Go get her, you piss her, you get off of the shitter. Can't put you in the spotlight, you niggas are with her. Keep an eye open round for any nigga that slither. Cause it ain't no sunshine here like Bill Withers, whoa. Fuck you know about this life I live. How you gon' talk to me like I ain't lose no rib? Like I ain't lose no crib, ain't lose no kid. Ain't sleep in my car and I ain't lose no gig. Shit, I never gave an order that I ain't did. And I ain't never take a fucking thing that I wouldn't give. Always kept it a bill, homie, I ain't fib. And if I had to go sit, then I just do my bid. Yo, my whole team full of steel beams we can't fold. Your whole circle full of some squares you can't roll. That's why we always take it to levels you can't go. Talk shit, but you can see me with these hands though. If looks to kill like Cyclops, these niggas wanna see me in Pine Box. Know that on my watch, got a better chance to rewind clocks when you quit nigga when time stops, bitch. Go get a big stepper. Hard body, One West rapper. Put on for my king, my niggas. Certified One West hitters, whoa. Go get a big stepper. Hard body, One West rapper. Put on for my king, my niggas. Certified One West hitters, whoa.
This flow is award-winning. Torment them, bomb to death, I'm bored with them. Trash him, throw him away with the has-beens. Ice cold with the flow, I'm Alaskan. You was in the fucking jungle in the past tense. I be with the lions, they my friends, Carol Baskin. And like her, they'll never find a body. Tiger stripe tracksuit, feeling like Joe Exotic. Shit, I don't know what it is, but I know I got it. Feeling like Alonzo, surgical with the shotty. All you see is skull and bones, Illuminati. Probably, I be the illest nigga to do it. I just talk shit on the beat and they call it music. I just come provide you with heat, remain the coolest. You ain't never been in the street with all the shooters. I was sipping yak with rioters and looters. Gotta keep my boots laid, shoot straight. Run up on you with the deuce 8 in a screw face. It's bad out here, my style effortless. 2 hands hugging a Ruger, so affectionate. Lot of suckers don't want war, I'm respecting it. Biggest stepper, snatch your plate, the hood starving. Cause they got beard shoot trades like James Harden. Straight from NY to Philly, we still mobbing.
Go get a big stepper. Hard body, One West rapper. Put on for my king, my niggas. Certified One West hitters, whoa. Go get a big stepper. Hard body, One West rapper. Put on for my king, my niggas. Certified One West hitters, whoa. 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 Whoa.
Y'all ain't ready yet, man. Here it come right now, prepare yourself. Here comes the boom.
Here come the boom. Look who just stepped in the room. Got soldiers in every direction. As long as they steppin' in tune. I be in all black with the groom. Watching Babylon fall to doom. Lord know I'm ready and I know that you know that her love is deadly, but I am immune. These niggas talking rude to whom? That's a spot you'll be moving soon, and you'll be leaving shortly. Still walking with them angels, yeah, they still enforcement. Got a whole lot of zeal, I can't get it off me. Plus I'm winning like I got a blue ribbon on me. He ain't one what, bitch, I'm big important. See, I knew these niggas like to do that pillow talking. So that's why I bought a Glock to the slumber party. Got it out the dust. I just began to it pretty much. That brotherhood of weapon, gotta keep it in the clutch. If it ain't One West, nigga, hush. One here, keep your tone down. Had a couple complications, but it's on now. So you can kill in speculation, bitch, I'm thrown down. And if you want a conversation, set it zone down. What he say, I ain't hear him, I done zoned down. Can't walk, this a low mouth. I'm 44, I'm on another level with it. These niggas never listen, so I let the devil get his ass. I try to tell him, I'm a rebel nigga. Better be careful if you ever think I'm no game. Stay in your lane, now I'm playing twisted metal with his ass. Got it off the gut. I just began to it pretty much. Your brotherhood a weapon, gotta keep it in the clutch. Revenge still my main bitch, I think I got a crush. And she know that I got some sick shit inside me. But you know it's UPK versus everybody. Got the job, move the buttons like you Teddy Riley. Now I race through the track like a Ricky Bobby. Got it off the dust. I just began to it pretty much. Your brotherhood a weapon, gotta keep it in the clutch. Gotta keep it with me, it's a must. Got it off the dust. I just began to it pretty much. Your brotherhood a weapon, gotta keep it in the clutch. If it ain't one West, nigga, hot.
You heard what he said. If they want West, nigga, hush. Watch your goddamn mouth, man. We ain't the same. We not the same. We'll never be the same. We react different. We live different. And we're gonna keep on pushing this truth until your house shall return, sucker. And y'all niggas out there, y'all lukewarm. Y'all can never be us. Cause we hot. Burning hot. Let's get it.
Ooh, 27 Club.
Right, gang, let's really nail it this time. Here we go. A 1, a 2, a 1, 2, 3, 4.
Been in this shit for some years, I ain't never left. Nigga try to save his life like he's scared of death. I got Hellstar on my body, bitch, I'm heaven sent. Hey, this UPK ain't nothing, we on fellowship. Been in this shit for some years, I ain't never left. Nigga try to save his life like he's scared of death. I got Hellstar on my body, bitch, I'm heaven sent. Hey, this UPK ain't nothing, we on fellowship. Florida Lee on my top, this a Saints hat. This the third can't be been in, he a J-Cat. Nigga tryna steal the sauce, yeah, I hate that. But I ain't make the rules, I can't change that. New bottle, new wine, yeah, I can't crack. Look, flag on the play, they grabbing face masks. Niggas always saving hoes, where your cape at? The only killer that you know without no face tag. Hell yeah, my bitch bad, Proverbs 31, yeah. This is not a drill, I be 30'd up, yeah. He about to crack the sky, you better hurry up. It's all bad when you see us hang that jersey up. It's mad brick, I got the blick with my cover on. He a fed, he a op, got his cover blown. Look, I'm really outside without no scully on. It's one West, bitch, I'm on with my brothers on. He got ranked, then he left, he broke another oath. I got the plate, we about to take another zone. They was sleeping on the team, now they comatose. Left his brother out to dry, I guess he wanna fold. Put the oil on his head, that's another soul. I try to tell him we a pro, don't do this shit at home. She unhappy, left her man, she a 304. He try to justify that shit, he broke the penal code. Been in this shit for some years, I ain't never left. Nigga try to save his life like he's scared of death. I got Hellstar on my body, bitch, I'm heaven sent. Hey, this UPK ain't nothing, we on fellowship. Been in this shit for some years, I ain't never left. Nigga try to save his life like he's scared of death. I got Hellstar on my body, bitch, I'm heaven sent. Hey, this UPK ain't nothing, we on fellowship. Gotta watch these niggas, they be cointel. Lil' bro ain't never killed nobody, but I know he will. It's on me, yeah, where I go, yeah, that's the holy seal. My niggas itching when it's up, you better not touch a chair. Ooh, I'm with the extra, that's on the back. He ain't loyal to his brothers, how you follow that? She either working with her hands or she off her bag. Broke bitches, yeah, they done that, give me a heart attack. You see the banner, but my head, I'm a part of that. These niggas cowards, pussies, we don't want no parts in that. They let our warrior out of prison, he ain't going back. And don't be speaking on the truth, cause we with all of that. Look, before they started dissing, they was fans first. You will never catch me digging in no man purse. Really put my brick in, that's why my hands hurt. And don't be speaking bullshit, that make my head hurt. Look, I dinner burn my fingers from the Michael Drake. For the brotherhood, I dinner threw my life away. I never see him, tell him come off from their high place. We can't do it, we told them we gon' find a way. They'd rather march 1,000 deep, we rather feed the people. They wouldn't put on all black, now he reading Hebrew. UPK the standard if you speak on Hebrew. Don't think they solid, get with them niggas just gon' leave you. Been in this shit for some years, I ain't never left. Nigga try to save his life like he's scared of death. I got Hellstar on my body, bitch, I'm heaven sent. Hey, this UPK ain't nothing, we on fellowship. Been in this shit for some years, I ain't never left. Nigga try to save his life like he's scared of death. I got Hellstar on my body, bitch, I'm heaven sent. Hey, this UPK ain't nothing, we on fellowship.
It's like to the men above me. Quick mic check. So we got the good brother Regaz. Super guys in the building. Mic check, mic check. Rapid City, shout out. See how we're looking on YouTube. Like, share, subscribe. Anybody got an issue that they want to cry about? I won't care. But we're here to hear you out anyway, you know? Freedom of speech and all that. All right, shout out. All right, so volume is good. Any questions, comments, or concerns in the class? Let me start over. Select it to the men above me. Let me start this over. Shalom, Israel. Yahweh Bashem, Yahweh Shai, Barakathum to the brothers. Yahweh Shemal, Athan Bashem, Yahweh Shai to the sisters. We are the ISUPK, the Israelite School Universal Practical Knowledge, established in 1969, 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York. We are led by Commanding General Yohana. We are not affiliated with any other organization. Remember that. It's very important. Israel, pay your tithes. Nosotros somos la Escuela Israelita de Conocimiento Práctico Universal. Comenzamos en 1 Oeste, calle 125th, Harlem, Nueva York. Desde 1969. Si tú eres hombre hispano, negro o indio nativo, tú eres Israel, el pueblo, el elegido de Dios. Y con esto, mi gente, nuestro tiempo ha terminado. Yahweh, en el nombre de Yahweh Shai, los bendiga, hermanos. Yahweh, en el nombre de Yahweh Shai, cuide sobre ustedes, hermanas. Salam, orale. That's right. Clap it up for World War III. Clap it up for World War III. Which, you know, it's a shame. It's a shame in itself because of how many of our people are going to get drawn into the muck, into the fire, enlisted in the military services, enlisted in the police, municipalities, enlisting in, I don't know what to call it per se, the ICE agency. The prison systems are going to be chock full of that sweat equity. The graveyards are going to be piled up with, Black and Hispanic and Native Indian men, women, and children. The gutters, the alleyways, the homeless shelters, the hospitals, the dope spots, the drug houses. And, they'll say that, some of these problems plague every community, which is absolutely true. We don't take an ownership of, exclusivity on hardships in this country. But our primary concern is for our specific demographic, so-called Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians that we identify as Israelites. Through the salvation that the Most High gives to Israel and the promise and prophecy of world domination under the Most High in Christ, with Israel as the authoritative figure, the world is going to be a better place. As much fun as we can have out here, as much sin as we can freely commit, without ever really looking back at the consequences that are directly linked to it. I was just listening to Captain Tazariak, that 10 verse 1 Christian battle that he had, crazy. Blood all over the place. It was glorious. Captain Tazariak is a force to be reckoned with, learning under, some of the best in the game. Commanding General Yohana, General Mahayman, General Mark Allah, General Hazayan, General Q, General Shalimar. I mean, it's how much cooler can you get? General Kahan, General Kahan, you know what I'm saying? It doesn't get much more, not just one West, but thoroughbred than what we have preserved here for us in the UPK. It's absolutely astonishing to see some of the same arguments still being cried about. One of them being the law. The law is always something that's being cried about. We're done with the law. You know, Christ is the end of the law. I'm gonna get something that inspired from Captain Tazariak in one of his one of the people that he was facing off against. I think it was a brother this time who had inspired Cap to pull this scripture. I believe it was in Romans, but you know, Paul was almost a stumbling block. I don't want to say that and potentially be disrespectful to him, because I don't want that to be taken the wrong way. Because Paul is absolutely a pillar in the Israelite world and lineage, that you know it's important to defend the brother's reputation and honor, his identity, his commitment, his contributions, despite how Christianity had manipulated, watered down, and subsequently stabbed him in the back. I mean, as much as they'll run to Paul to try to prove that the law had been done away with, you know, you'd have to say that Paul is contradicting Christ. Because all I've seen with Paul, with his letters, reaching out to all the different zones, was him backing up what Christ had laid down and supporting and enforcing, you could even say. Because even while he was locked up, he was flying kites and checking brothers for their negligence, disobedience, for their some of the negative accounts that he was hearing about them. You know, because again, the same way that we carry ourselves in the UPK is mirrored in the Bible. You know, you're going to see modern constructs that might look unfamiliar, but it's all guided under that roof. It's all guided under that roof. Let's go find the scripture real quick. Here we go. Romans chapter 7. Romans chapter 7. This one specifically is in 14. I want to start at verse 1 though. Because if the law is done away with, and Paul, because you're going to see, and this is something again that's beautiful about the UPK. Never forget what you know. Never forget what you've been taught. Trying to learn something new. The Bible will have bedrock foundational scriptures that you can't move and flip and switch and try to look at from a different lens, try to reinterpret, or try to find a contradictory precept for. It's going to have bedrock foundational scriptures that lay out the overall theme, more or less. And then you're going to have within this, between Genesis and Revelations, you're going to have some of these you know, quote unquote ambiguous statements, scriptures that almost appear on the surface that they're opening up the doors for everybody, that they're widening that narrow path. But we know that there are certain things that we do know. And again, it's going to differ by who's professing themselves to be a team. I think the UPK is some of the only, the Israelite community abroad, I think I could safely say this about, but the UPK specifically, we got no problem saying that we have teachers here. I am a teacher in the school. I am authorized to teach on certain topics because I have been taught. And that's one of the first principles of the oracles of God, correct? If one, in a paraphrasing, if one was to be a teacher, he must get taught first. Again, I'm paraphrasing, but in that very close ballpark. So we know that the law is still in effect. You cannot commit sin without repercussion. Now we are under grace by the Most High through Christ, given a time to clean ourselves up, coming out of captivity and oppression and being disbanded as a nation. Not having a central body to turn to for guidance, for correction, for counsel. And Christ saw that division and what that wrought. Some brothers left over here being an authority unto themselves. And because they dancing around in these purple robes and they've got everybody's attention, almost, how would I say, in fear of being wrong, nobody wanted to speak up. The commoners, I should say, not sharing, maybe a specific bloodline, not having, the same prestigious last name. Well, even though we didn't really do last names, but from the house of X, Y, and Z. Like how we can trace Joseph's lineage, back through to Christ. Well, not just Christ, like it, but all the way back through to I don't want to say just because it wasn't just the prominent figures in the tribe of Judah that validated their heritage, but you could legitimately trace back their line to the kings, to the next succession. The next king's succession. You can trace Christ as the heir. And people will take issue with, and that's kind of besides the point, taking issue with Joseph being Christ's biological father. But using all these suppositions to try to prove that Christ is God versus being a man like us, who was also bound by the law, which is why he taught so heavy on the law before his life was taken, before he went back home, so to speak. We're going to get a couple of them that I know we had gone over, not last Tuesday, but the Tuesday prior to, I believe. So right now we got Romans chapter 7, verse 14. I also want to get because these were Christ's words. There you go. Matthew chapter 5, verse 19. I'll make sure I pull up Romans here. Just so I can share the verses on the screen. Christ was all about his culture, and again, to turn him into a Caucasoid changes his identity. His identity as an Israelite is bound and outlined by the laws that God had given to our people. That's what, that was the whole, platform of the covenant that he had made with, again, Israel. The only covenant that you might be able to say he opened up to for the whole world was that he wasn't going to flood it out again. I think that might be the only thing, Slakin said met above me. But I think that might be the only thing that you could kind of point at and be like, all right, this maybe this, maybe he was talking to everybody about this one. But again, the only people that he had saved was Noah, his 3 sons, and their wives. Other than that, Noah lost the rest of the family tree in that flood. So you could also make the argument too that this promise was to Noah. But I think that that's the only one that could be kind of loosely, loosely spun in that direction. Let me show you these to the studio. We're not going to be here incredibly long tonight. Going to cut out at 9, but make sure that we get some time in. Any questions, comments, or concerns on topic? By all means, engage in the chat. Preferably, if it's on topic first, anything that might come outside of that, we can check out afterwards. Okay. All right. So, Matthew chapter 5, verse 19. These are Christ's words. Whosoever therefore shall break one of these least commandments, which let you know that the law was important to him. And he felt that was important for us to still keep in memory, to still keep alive. Because we're talking about the kingdom of heaven here. People being considered great, people being considered least. Whosoever therefore shall break one of these least commandments and shall teach men so. So this is also, how would I say it? Because you can't just say that he only said this for that moment in time, and then when he died, everything was nullified. Because he's telling you, whosoever shall break one of these least commandments and teach men so, he shall be called the least in the kingdom of heaven. Now, if he knows that he's going, but that's not going to be the end of the world as we know it, and not everybody else is dying with him, and the world is still going to continue, living afterwards, then these terms are for the people moving forward to live by and to teach by. You're not just supposed to teach the law, you're supposed to live the law. That's why he's saying whoever breaks and or teaches, going to be the least in the kingdom. So, and I know we had talked about this last time too, you can teach subconsciously. If you were to break the law subconsciously, that there's a different understanding of that, because you'd have to be talking about not knowing the law. These codes. You have to be talking about not knowing the law. But even heathens know the law. And if you want to talk about Gentiles being a law unto themselves, being judged after the measure that they had held and practiced, again, you would still have to base that on them not having the laws of God available and understood. So unless you were, that far removed from Israel, there really is no excuse for anybody to try to cry and cop out saying, well, we didn't know. So that's why we had broke the law under your consideration and taught men to do so, because we didn't know what the law was. That's one cop out. But again, you'd have to be so far removed from the body, from anybody that had any memory or recollection of the law, of the culture, to jump out that window. But Christ was not, we were given grace, but we were never given an out per se. Like if you're a child, even, you are to listen to your mother and father. Now, and again, this is the construct of Christianity. Back then, what we see today with Christianity would not have existed back then in Christ's time. So you would have had people growing up with, all right, you know, like Zeus and what's the Roman gods? I can't remember the Roman pantheon per se, but because you had Zeus for the Greeks, and I don't know if the Romans had just strictly adopted that because their cultures were so close and overlapped. But I know, like, between the Greek and like the Egyptians, like they had, you know, they had kind of like the same characters, just switched out names and some of the details, something to that effect. Or Jupiter, I think Jupiter might have been Zeus, because, you know, one of them was naming all the planets, and I don't know, it gets messy. But you would have had kids growing up, you know, potentially being taught about, like, the Greco-Roman gods, even Egyptian gods, because that pantheon, that's something that we know throughout history, like, you know, had existed and had been, you know, they were a world power. At this time, in Christ's time, though, the Greco-Roman Empire had already conquered Egypt. So that pantheon probably wouldn't have been as, you know, a household teaching, whereas, you know, the Greco-Roman pantheon probably would have been more enforced. And we can see some of the influence. There was a brother called Apollo in the scriptures, in the New Testament. Paulus in itself, Paul's name from I believe is a Greek of a Greek effect, because I don't remember being able to find a Hebrew root to that. But we know that he was born with a Hebrew name. And people will trip on that too. We can get into Paul and Saul at another time, because I think that's an interesting conversation to have. I'm gonna try to pull up the Blue Letter Bible real quick. Let's see who they all had, who they mentioned. All right, so it's like Zeus was not mentioned. Let me see who Jupiter was. All right, Jupiter gets mentioned. Yeah, in Acts 14, 3 times. So I think that would have been more of the Roman pantheon with Jupiter and Mercury. Yeah. We can see people having that influence, and in an environment, in a society where being an Israelite, you know, coming out of the Maccabean era, being an Israelite was like outlawed. And the ones that you did have that were, I guess, leading the nation, leading the people at that time, that was still in Jerusalem too. The Maccabees, that was outside of Jerusalem, if I remember correctly. That was, I believe that was somewhere else in a different land. But the people that were in that kind of seat of power in authority over the nation of Israel, they were under the authority of the Roman rulership. So they couldn't go, they had to watch their P's and Q's. They had to mind themselves pretty carefully as to not offend their Roman I don't want to say counterparts, but their Roman not even advisors. The Roman heads of state that were over them. Try to keep that simple. Which is why they fought so hard against Yahushua, because if the people, and again, they had the influence of the Jews that were still intact in those areas, in Jerusalem, in the land of Israel, in Asia. I think it would have been more Asia Minor. Yeah, because it wouldn't have been, I don't think, at least for the records that we have, where the brothers had went to, it wasn't as far east as where we know today, like Christianity and the Bible had spread out to. It was still kind of more localized, centralized around the Mediterranean area. But they were trying to keep a lid on this brother Jesus, his brother Yahushua, that was going around doing miracles and teaching about the word of God, and causing a spiritual division between the Roman Empire and the Israelite faith. Knowing that, again, these Pharisees, the Sadducees and Pharisees, knowing that if the people were to align themselves after Christ, they wouldn't be considered an authority figure anymore. So what good would they be to the Roman, Empire if they still couldn't exert influence and fear into the commoners of Israel? The same way that we got in the churches, which again are not supposed to be able to sway their constituents politically. They're not supposed to be able to have like a political, agenda on in their charter. There's like a different 501c3 that does allow for that, but like as far as I know from what I've been reading, they're just that generic 501c3. You got to have that separation. You can't be a political figure as like an entity, a body, an organization, trying to be a nonprofit organization under that 501c3 designation. You got to be neutral. You got to be, like with us. Listen, we tell people don't vote for nobody. Follow the Bible. Vote for Christ. Vote for the Most High in Christ. Then you don't have to worry about, and I'm sorry, it's like I know we're kind of going slightly off, but this law circle back. With the Bible, you don't have to worry about the background of this political party that you might be swayed to support and vote for. We've got their records here, in an open book. They got all these kind of pseudo records of the life of Christ outside of the Bible, where he was in Egypt. Suppose he went to India and studied. Supposedly all these different places, all these what ifs and kind of hidden tales of mysticism and heroin, whatever it is. We've got a record book here intact that is sufficient to understand his character and spirit. So we know that there ain't no skeletons in his closet that we got to worry about. Because again, when you're out there at these voting booths and you're voting for these politicians, on the surface, you might only be looking at the campaign policies that they're talking about first. What you don't know is, that fine print that you're about to put in office. I don't remember hearing anything about Donald Trump and Epstein prior to, his election. And really that was only, this last go around. I don't remember hearing this before with between him and Biden the last time. As far as I remember, I also didn't pay a whole hell of a lot of attention to it because we had our own work to do here. So those are some of the things like you don't know about these characters until it's too late, until they get put in the spotlight. Something happens, the reputation gets smeared, and then all these dark hidden secrets from the past come bubbling up, and now you realize that your vote, like I've met a couple people where they were like, damn, like I voted for him, I support him, all this shit happened. And it's like, now I wish I'd have just kept my mouth shut. Those are the risks that you take when you're engaging in politics. the laws that they will try to enforce, you know, again, it's going to sound good. It's going to sound great. Sound like it might be in your favor, something that you support. Because, and most of it just because of it's going to give you an allowance to, again, commit sin. Whether it's abortion, legalizing abortion, or legalizing weed. Some of y'all don't draw a parallel between those. But if you're committing sin in the Bible, if you're breaking any of those laws, you are breaking the law. And that needs to be answered for. Now, who's going to hold you accountable to it, though? You know, we let our king tell it. And whosoever therefore shall break one of these least commandments and shall teach men so, he shall be called the least in the kingdom of heaven. But whosoever shall do and teach them, the same shall be called great in the kingdom of heaven. So, I mean, that's the criteria for your status in the kingdom. And again, we're talking about the kingdom of heaven, God's kingdom. That's going to be established here on earth. Who's going to be called least? Who's going to be called great? And I don't know if I touched too much on the consideration for like the least, what that would all entail. But that's really just going to be looking at your character, your not just your physical status, because you can be somebody. You can have wealth, you can have riches, you can have status in certain circles and authority in certain circles, but at large in the kingdom, you're going to be looked down on, somebody that's untrustworthy. But you got all this money, you got all these celebrities with all this money, all these entertainers. We got Sean 8049. I'm so sorry for being a white man. Listen, I'm sorry for you. That's very unfortunate. If you want to learn what you can do about that, contact the UPK near you and follow their instructions to the T. But you got all these authority figures, all these politicians, all these entertainers, all these athletes that have got all the money in the world at their disposal, especially collectively. Collectively, you can't tell me that there's nothing that they can't do. But where's their heart? You know, where they put their treasure? In the NBA, in the MLB, in the Republican Party. That's where they're laying their treasure. That's what they're supporting. That's what they're backing. That's what they're living and dying for out here. So you can have all the money that you want, but you might not be a trustworthy person. So nobody's really going to be keen on inviting you over and be a part of their family, be a part of their home. Hold any measure of responsibility when it comes to the lives of the people that we're expected to take care of. Because again, they've got all the resources at their fingertips and they're completely abusing their influence. Where they could be using all of their platforms to push the word of God, a lot of them are using it to push Christianity, which is fundamentally contrary to the word of God. I can think of a couple things that we might agree upon, but the key points of it, it would fracture any understanding, any mutual understanding that we would have to such a degree that there would be no point in having any common ground with. And again, Captain Zariak sitting at the table with those Christians, having certain points that both of them agree on, as far as biblical integrity goes, what's in the Bible, certain things that we can all agree on. But now when it comes to the breakdown and the application of it, that's where, we got our differences, and where we find them teaching people to break the law. Now, even if on the surface, even in the public eye, they're keeping the law, right? Like the scripture, what's the scripture say about the Sadducees, the Pharisees? Let's look this up too while we're at it. I'm not sure if I'm paraphrasing this correctly. It's almost like have you guys ever heard of a hypocrite? There you go, Matthew 23:3. That's what we're looking for. You got some of the biggest hypocrisy in the Christian church, and that's been exposed for a very long time also. There's very, very little you can trust about them. You'll have individuals that you might be able to consider somewhat different from the main body of Christianity that they are, advocating for. But it's, again, what's that worth? How do we? I'm not going to take the time to try to differentiate who's who in that community. When again, we've got people out here struggling, confused, addicted, strung out, violent, angry, looking for some solace, some peace, a safe place where they can just take a goddamn breath, breathe, let some of that stress off their shoulders, get an explanation as to why we're living like this. We're in this hell. It's not just because sin. It's deeper than that. Because again, we're going to get to what Paul said about the law in a second here, but it's not just doing something that the Bible said not to do. Because again, let the world tell it, that the Bible was given to everybody to live by, and everybody will end up living by this measure, by this standard. But it was specifically given to the nation of Israel, to the Israelite family tree. Because again, Adam had it, Noah had it, Abraham had it, Isaac had it, Jacob had it, before the Levitical priests had, written it all down. The law was in existence prior to that. And it stayed in existence, well after the nation was disbanded. Let's get, all right, so Matthew chapter 23:3. Because these people out here, man, you can't trust. Can't trust your entertainers and your politicians and your athletes to simply do the right thing and stand on that too. How quick, what happened to Kyrie Irving, man? I don't even think he's playing anymore. And Kanye West, at least, he risked it. He risked it. You got a lot of people that don't want to risk it. They don't want to risk the comfort that they've obtained. Brothers that were living, that came up in the hood, that came up in poverty, that came up in during the crack epidemic and the heroin plagues, the opioid crisis, as I think they had called it once. Edomites had gotten affected on a large enough scale for them to want to take more of a national notice of it. But after being born into a struggle, fighting your way out of it, working very hard to achieve something that you can now use to take yourself and your family and your immediate loved ones out of some of that harm's way, why would you want to risk that? So Matthew 23:3. All therefore whatsoever they bid you observe. So now we are expected to live by the laws of the land. And it's like that's kind of a separate topic than this. So let's just stick to this for now. Because these were Let's pull up the entire, just so you can see with me. Verse 1, then spake Yahushua to the multitude. So this is Matthew chapter 23, verse 1. Then spake Yahushua to the multitude and to his disciples. So he was teaching abroad to a larger audience than just what we might often see as just being amongst the disciples. Verse 2, saying, now this is what he's saying about the scribes and the Pharisees. The scribes and the Pharisees sit in Moses' seat. Verse 3, all therefore whatsoever they bid you observe, that observe and do. So if they tell you the law said, because they're sitting in Moses' seat, and Moses was, kind of credited or I don't know, nicknamed, a pseudonym, a moniker, as being the lawgiver, kind of accredited with being the lawgiver. They're sitting in that seat of authority. So they're sitting there telling the people actively, do X, Y, and Z. That's why they always came to Christ to challenge his, what he was teaching that was different from them, that was again causing that divide amongst the people. So if they're telling you to keep the law, they're telling you what the law is, and they're telling you to keep the law, you should observe and do it. But do not ye after their works, for they say and do not. Now, let me ask you something. I want to look at you. Would it blow your mind out of your skull to find out that you got hypocrites in the Christian church? Do we really got to reach for the stars to, if we're having a conversation about politicians being liars and thieves, entertainers, your musicians, your athletes, how many scandals we see, how like all these different popular figures getting wrapped up in? People would have done anything that Puff Daddy asked them to do. All you got to do is flash around a little money for you, and people are going to swear by it. You still got people that are not in his corner, and it's good to have a support system. He's still a brother, so there's at least he's a brother, and there's always hope that he would change his ways. For all these brothers and sisters out there, there's always still that chance that they could change their ways, repent, and come back into the fold. Unfortunately for a lot of them, it only happens when they meet, the fate like that. Falling from, that high status that they're used to now, almost having to, be considered, a commoner as well. The shame of it all, from how high up they were to being brought down real low. All because we live in a society that feeds into that imagination of that feeds into us being disobedient to the Most High, and where our imaginations take us down that pursuit. Because it didn't just stop at opening up a can of tuna. It got a little crazy for some of these guys. There was that one brother who he was messing with the Kardashians, Lamar Odom. They ended up finding him in a dope house. I believe he's still alive, though. It's like, let me just double check. All right, so yeah, definitely still alive. Suffered 12 strokes and 6 heart attacks while in a coma. There it is. All right, so it's lucky. So it says this is just a quick AI overview that I just searched for on Google. Lamar Odom, is he still alive? So Lamar Odom is alive, the former NBA champion, an NBA champion. Now I'm not too hip into the NBA world like that, but I remember hearing the name Lamar Odom, even prior to. But this former NBA champion survived a near-fatal overdose in 2015. That should let y'all know that, you know, our people, no matter how high of a status you reach, you're not untouchable. It can happen whenever. It can happen whenever enough. Like, we don't need to fuel the Most High's anger by shooting up, by freebasing, by playing Russian roulette, by tempting them. You know, listen, I think skydiving would be awesome to try out. I don't think it's that awesome. You know, it looks like a good time. You know, if you ever been on a roller coaster, that free fall, you know, that the adrenaline, the excitement, you know, the physical rush that you experience. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. But how many crazy videos have we seen of roller coasters also flying off the tracks and unaliving, you know, 12 people that were just in the carts and then, you know, slamming into another dozen or two. You know, I would not recommend playing these games. So in 2005, a near fatal overdose. In 2015, Slovakia, during which he suffered 12 strokes and 6 heart attacks while he was in a coma because of that near fatal overdose. While he was clinging on to life and consciousness, he's having a dozen strokes and half a dozen heart attacks while in a coma. He remains active in recovery and operates multiple wellness and treatment centers in Los Angeles. So, I mean, most on Christ that he was able to pull through. But that's an example of his actions, you know, teaching. He's breaking even some of the least commands. Let's see what kind of drugs he was doing, though. Again, some people think, you know, like this whole marijuana thing, just because it's legal at the corner stores, that it's safe. You know, just because the government legalized stuff, don't mean that God did. He was found unconscious in a love brothel in Nevada. I thought he was just in a trap house. He was in a brothel. He was checking out some prostitutes, getting high, doing some. Listen, I highly doubt that the prostitutes were not getting high with him. I mean, he's an NBA champion, right? And I don't know if anybody is aware of this term. If you're not, listen, most on Christ, that you don't know some of this stuff. I think it's good that you don't. Unfortunately, we got to go through some of this so that we can identify what sin is. You know, Paul had talked about that also. You know, the law, it's like, I'm paraphrasing, but, you know, the law, I want to paraphrase it better. Everybody all hyped up and worried about Romans 3:20. Let me pull this one up. Well, Lamar Odom, he out there in a whorehouse with prostitutes, setting up a dope date. During his ketamine Or no, it's like during his addiction, he was using ketamine to treat the addiction, using another drug to combat his addiction to other drugs. Trying to see if it's just going to say flat out what he was doing. Yeah, he was definitely dope dating. All right, so he had a dangerous combination of cocaine, alcohol, and over-the-counter ED supplements. Yeah, see, he was using the alcohol and the drugs to supposedly heighten his experience, which ended up backfiring on him, man. Yeah, we don't need to take it that far. We don't need to follow after these celebrities, these pastors. Because how many pastors have we heard of doing something inappropriate in the churches? And I'm not even talking about Edomite and heathen pastors. I'm talking about our own people, Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians in these churches, getting busted out, caught up, doing some nasty stuff. Why would it be such a big deal if the laws of God were done away with? You know, they should get a. I don't know what the problem is. They should get a pass, and especially in the congregation, they should be the most understanding. If they're the ones following these pastors, they should be the most understanding. Why then are they going back to church with a gun because the pastor was sleeping with their wives, which has happened quite a bit. There's absolutely nothing wrong with a man of God being married, having a family, and we can get to the whole multiple wife things, at another time. But, in Christianity, and not in every denomination, and I think there's more so a Catholic construct about how the pastors can't have a wife. Sure, shit don't let them babysit. We've seen how that always turns out. And then again, they get a little cover up, forgiven. Eddie Long was paraded around on stage in a throne before the Lord took him. But then they just get switched around at different locations. They got hella lawsuits. 7-Day Adventists recently came out with a lawsuit warning. One of those group class action lawsuits. Talking about if you're a loved one that has experienced, being abused while attending the Latter-day, what do they call it? Latter-day Saints. The Church of the Latter-day Saints, contact this number, call these lawyers. They got a class action lawsuit going on. These are the things that they're doing. All therefore, whatsoever they bid you observe, that observe and do. Any lawful order that you are given, whether it's by your parents, your camp leaders, your pastors, for those that are still in that hellhole, if it's in accordance with the Bible, if it's not a contradiction to God, if it's a lawful order, command, you should follow it. But do not after their works, for they say and do not. So make sure time. All right, we still got time. They are neglecting the weightier matters. We heard. Let's see if we get that one too. Let's finish up verse 4 here. Oh, it looks like maybe 4 and 5. Verse 4. For they bind heavy burdens and grievous to be borne and lay them on men's shoulders. Again, they'll put all that pressure on you to obey the law, on you to present yourself a certain way, on you to guide and influence, and to lead, to teach in a certain manner, but they themselves will not move with them one of their fingers. They're not going to help you with that bird. Once they give you all the grandest advice, financial advice, marital advice, parental advice, then they just leave you to the wayside. They're not there to and it's an unfortunate paradigm we find ourselves in, man. They're not there to do the work for you, but that's exactly what they're supposed to be doing. They're supposed to be leading by example. If you got some hardships in your home, these are supposed to be the men that are capable, it's their job also. Like in the UPK over here, it is these men's jobs to take on those burdens. You are absolutely not alone in the UPK, which is why we push so hard for more growth, more interactions, more platforms, more debates, more battles, more classes, more teachers, to raise up more men so we can spread this farther, so that we can cover the spread, so that we can cover all these families, all these individuals that are in some dire straits, that are in jail, coming out of jail, got no support systems, got no roof over their head. Shout out to Adawan Kudash in Minnesota and Maccabi. They opened up, they got a property, what is like a duplex, a twin duplex, side-by-side duplex, that they're opening up to help house people that are going to be in need. And Captain Kapash in Indianapolis did something similar with the barracks that they have there. They had enough room. They were in a position to where they could open it up to other families that needed some help, needed some support. And they were able to provide that. There's, again, we always go into the difference between us and them. There has to be. And these, not just the events. We're trying to put something together again this year for the Menominee Reservation. Not just for the events and the classes, the resources. It should be shared. Like, share, subscribe to content. Like, share, subscribe, the Mission to Akuna. Like, share, subscribe, all of the events that these brothers are putting on, so that interested parties who would have that spirit to also show support and put their brick in and add their resources to the lot, for people that need that assistance, that need those resources. They need to know where to go. If you just say, oh yeah, the Israelites, you got a bunch of people calling themselves Israelites out here. How do you differentiate, one from another? Luckily, I don't want to say luckily, but in the Most High's wisdom, he color coordinated everybody else too. The UPK is still to this day the only organization that ain't got to almost GMS too, but they're kind of non-existent. But you can tell them too by the rags that they throw on. They'll put on like bed sheets and things like that. We saw one brother with some belly fringes on. He had like it was so awkward. It was so cringy. He had on this little smock. He was wearing just some sweatpants and a t-shirt. I just came back from the slavery, so I got kind of a regular civilian t-shirt on, but I threw on one of our Mortal Kombat garments because fuck you. That's why. Slacker 10 met above me. Maybe that's too far, but we made this by hand. This is one of my first ones. I like this joint. I keep this one around. But because we get so many weak insults about it too, is why I wanted to throw this on today instead of just wearing the gray tee. But we had this brother on. He had his garment went down to like here, like mid center chest, and then he had some fringes, some little tassels hanging off of that, like a halter top. I think that's what I'm thinking of. What they wearing, like a little belly shirt, little belly fringe, had on a little belly garment. It was a very awkward sight, and he was like some masculine dude too. You know, like Terry Crews almost, all muscular and shit like that, coming over trying to be all tough, wearing a little belly fringe. It was so weird. It was so Captain Kapasa and Ryan could not take that man serious at all. And so like, where were we? But to get back to it. All right, Matthew, we are in 5, what was that, 3? 23. But their works, I was like, I want to pull this up so y'all can see it too. All right, for they bind heavy burdens and grievous to be borne and lay them on men's shoulders. But all that responsibility and expectation on you. And abandon you midway. But they themselves will not move them with one of their fingers. Verse 5. You know, some people try to say about Nasty Nate, how after he had locked those brothers up on the charges that he helped falsify, as the active leader of IUIC, also being a New York detective, like he was on the police force while he was the creator of IUIC. So naturally, you know, he would have been the acting leader of that organization. But while he was the leader, you know, he had the IUIC established. While he was running that and parading himself a man of God, he was locking up innocent black men on charges that he helped fabricate. He fabricated to tamper with the evidence or something like that. Got those brothers sent up to Rikers Island for like almost a year. Got the city sued for like almost $1 million. And I don't even think he got a slap on the wrist for it. Put this burden on people, man. And then people try to say that he tried to help them out afterwards. Like he tried to like lessen their sentence or something off something off like that. I don't want to paraphrase them incorrectly too much. Even though it would, you know, it is my pleasure to throw them under the bus for the wicked environment that they perspire. I also don't want to, you know, falsely accuse or misquote anybody. But that's what that man did. That's documented too. You can look that up. But some of the excuses that people were trying to say on his behalf as to you know, how he was trying to help those young men afterwards too, like that's some bullshit. Again, sorry for the language, but that's he's putting these burdens, grievous to be born. Listen, Rikers Island, I've only heard the stories. I've never been to New York like that. I've been to, you know, Jamaica, Queens for the cookout, or it's like for one of the Passovers, Philly, a little bit on the East Coast, but I ain't never been to Rikers Island before. And I'm sure I will do just quite all right without it. I've been to Milwaukee's local scene. That's, you know, I don't need to be that cool. But they're going to try to say how he moved a finger, you know, to help them afterwards, after he had set them up to take a fall. A year in Rikers Island, man, come on. There's nothing brotherly about that. Verse 5, but all their works they do for to be seen of men. They make broad their phylacteries and enlarge the borders of their garments. You got brothers that go very grandiose with their garments, with their matching uniforms. And it's to gain the eye of the people, gain the admiration of the people out there. Listen, when Gadahar had put an incense burner in his garment, that was damn near to start a fight with the brothers. And so like, you know, for it's like to the men above me, but everybody that know me, like there's a healthy brotherly competition that can be had in the amongst brothers. Period. It doesn't just have to be in the UPK. But when it comes to the garment game, you know, some of these brothers, man, it's like those are fighting words, man. Like that garment right there, like you calling me out. Gadahar put a Salaki, not Gadayawan, my fault, Salaki. Captain Gadahar still had a fly garment, but Gadayawan, this brother had an incense burner in his garment. Somehow he didn't just like put a stick and let it burn. Like he had something installed in there. Now that is crazy. That's a call out. Challenge accepted. All right, next year we ain't playing this shit with y'all, man. But you got these other organizations out there who doing it to catch the attention of the people, to try to gain their trust through their presentation. And all the works that they're doing, it's not to fish brothers and sisters into the truth for their sake. It's to see what advantage they can take over, how they can further their position in their organization, by how many other people resources they can gather to themselves. Listen, we come out of pocket over here, and I can speak on that as a firsthand participant in going broke for the school and for some of these events that we put on for the people. You know, that's why we say pay your tithes. Kick into that priest fund so that we can have cookouts for the whole community consistently. You know, these are some of the reasons why we look for these opportunities as nonprofit organizations and to get that 501c3 licensing so that we can get access to those resources that we could use to house, furnish, clothe, and feed the people. We're not rich men. I'm not an NBA champion, man. Even at my worst, even at Lamar Odom's worst, you know, he could have at least pawned that ring. I don't know how much that would have been worth, but a hell of a lot more than the job that I'm slaving for right now. But all the works they do for to be seen of men, they make broad their phylacteries and the larger borders of their garments, and love the uppermost rooms at feasts and the chief seats in the synagogues. Those are the kind of personalities that we're competing with out here, that we actually have to compete with out here. That's crazy. I want to go to Romans chapter 7, verse 1. Because again, the highlight of this part was they teach us, verse 3, they're impressing upon us to keep the law. Because now, and some of the orders that they might give might be something like, you know, everybody pitch in 5. I don't know what kind of, I can't remember all the different kind of coins names that they had back then. Let's just say, you know, everybody pitch in $5 so that we can open up this orphanage. It might be something like that. Let's do a community cleanup. All right. It might be something like that. That's a lawful order. That'd be a lawful command to get. But, you know, they might just stand around, you know, watching y'all struggling while you got your own, you know, plate to sort out, struggling to help provide for all these other people. That is their responsibility to provide for. You know what I'm saying? So when we talk about, again, these tithes and all these funds and all this money that you should be giving right to the UPK, find that school near you, empty out your bank account. For that one cat that said, I'm sorry for being white, here's one thing that you can do about it. Go to your bank, make a fat withdrawal. I would say keep whatever you would need to make ends meet, to pay your bills so that you don't get evicted or destitute. I don't need you in the street because that might affect your performance at work, and I don't want you to get fired. Because I need you to take the lion's share of that paycheck every pay period and give to the school. Show up at camps to kiss boots and to maybe cart around, you know, some of the items that they need. And, you know, this is just all kind of dependent on the type of cat that this person is. Some people might not be treated as brazen, depending on their spirit and how their sincerity. But some people ain't got that in. So when Christ was talking about, you know, the least commandments, breaking the least and teaching men to do so, that directly addresses the leadership that we have in a lot of these the dominant Christian communities. And again, whether you're, you know, Christian, Catholic, Baptist, Mormon, this, that, or the third, it's all still under that umbrella of Christianity. That's where they all stem from. Let's get Romans chapter 7. We'll start at verse 1. Romans chapter 7 and 1. Know ye not, brethren, for I speak to them that know the law, how that the law hath dominion over man as long as he liveth? This is the question that's being posed. How does that law have dominion over man as he liveth? Let me just open up the full chapter here. We're going to see a couple instances on how to apply this. Verse 2, for the woman which hath an husband is bound by the law to her husband, so long as he liveth. But if the husband be dead, she is loose from the law of the husband. That's what we're seeing in the transition of the letter of the law under like the Levitical, not just the Levitical priesthood while it was intact. Because when we have broke the covenant as expressed in Jeremiah, you know, that whole priesthood pretty much been disbanded. So now you got these Sadducees and these Pharisees taking up that mantle, putting on the phylacteries and again the broadening the borders of their garments, trying to tell people what it is when they don't even have the authority anymore. That husband died. We're not under that we're not part of that in that relationship anymore. Verse 3. So then if while her husband liveth she be married to another man, she shall be called an adulteress. So now if you've got your culture, if you are an Israelite by blood and you're following another doctrine, another religion, spiritually, you are committing adultery against the Most High. But if her husband be dead, she is free from the law, so that she is no adulteress, though she be married to another man. You know, like if you didn't know that you were an Israelite and you're out there practicing, you know, Buddhism, Hinduism, even Christianity, you know, that's a different argument. That's a different conversation to be had. But we're kind of at a day and age now where, you know, the word is spreading like wildfire and brothers and sisters are waking up to the truth and trying to figure out how they can help further that, how they can be more involved, how they can be applied. That was one of my biggest goals, was to be applied. I wanted to be of use. Verse 4, wherefore, my brethren, ye also are become dead to the law by the body of Christ, that ye should be married to another. We're not under that burden of, because again, it was very strict. You break this law, and almost, you know, immediately you suffer the consequences for it. Because you had priests that were like, even when the kingdom had split, you had Levi both with Judah and Benjamin and with the other 9 tribes. And in all of their different locales, all the different encampments, towns, cities that they had established, there would have been like a Levitical municipality, so to speak, to oversee the conduct of the people and making sure that they were keeping the laws. Judges. That's I think that's one of the bigger examples that you would see of it being, you know, again, the people being spread about, but them each little location, like there might have been, you know, like we got Milwaukee County. Inside Milwaukee County, you've got like maybe 7 or 8 cities. So you could have had, you know, that Levitical priesthood over Milwaukee County. And then that body might have been broken up into smaller, you know, spread out little factions to, you know, one over Milwaukee and Franklin and Oak Creek and Cudahy and, you know, all the different little subdivisions around it, or subdivisions, suburban areas outside of the major city of Milwaukee. But at one time, we would have been held to that critical nature of the law, the punishments being passed down again almost immediately by the Levitical judges. Like you didn't want these men come knocking on your door. They probably most certainly wouldn't have been, for a high five to come play cards. They'd have been speaking yet about something. It's like you also become dead to the law by the body of Christ, that ye should be married to another, even to him who is raised from the dead, that we should bring forth fruit unto God. Verse 5, for when we were in the flesh, the motions of sin were the motions of sin were by the law, did work in our members to bring forth fruit unto death. Counterproductive to a point. Because of how immediate and finite, or well, maybe that's the wrong word to choose, immediate and definitive the judgment was. The harshness of that reality doing almost more damage than good. Because now we're bringing fruit unto death. You got people that are so bold and so brazen as to just disobey the law, either thinking they ain't gonna get caught. They maybe they had the sacrifices ready, and they were just willing to slaughter half of their herd so that they could tiptoe with the next man's wife or something, or in property, idol. You know what I'm saying? Like really, really risking it all for something selfish and self-destructive. Verse 6, but now we are delivered from the law, that being dead wherein we were held, and again under that threat of instant death. It wasn't like the halfway stone them. It was taken all the way. Now again, they could show you mercy as well, but quite often, from what we've seen in the examples that were given, these people were put to death for these offenses, and the carelessness in which people were just committing those offenses. If we look at our cities right now in 2026, how willing people are to commit what we would define as sin according to God, and then knowing that there's a shame to it, that there should be at least, and they're walking around with it, like a banner of pride. Who can sleep, for the sisters, who can sleep with the most men, who's got the highest body count, who's had the most abortions. You got people bragging about this stuff. How many people you can unalive, how high your tolerance is to do drugs, how many women I guess to put it to put it in more modern terms, how many women you can get to cheat on their man with you, getting their sloppy second, sloppy third and fourths. So somebody sits getting passed around, and then they go back home to their man. It's lawless world. But the punishments that would have been associated with that kind of behavior, again, very swift. And that's what we were held to. It wasn't just a talking to. Like it was lights out. It's like that we should serve in newness of spirit and not in the oldness of the letter. It's like, let me read this part again from verse 6. Now we that are delivered from the law, delivered from that letter of the law. that was in verse 5, producing the fruit unto death, that being dead wherein we were held, being dead in law, in sin, meaning being separated from it now. That relation, that union that we had with the letter of the law, the repercussions, the punishments that we faced, having broken the law, that union, or that covenant that we broke. You know, we are, I don't know if I want to use like the term divorced, but you know how they're saying, how Paul's saying about how that husband has died. We are out of that relationship. That we should serve in newness of spirit, being born again. You know, we're getting another opportunity here to again clean ourselves up. And not in the oldness of the letter. Slovakia. Verse 7, what shall we say then? Is the law sin? God forbid. The law is not sin. Even the law of the repercussions. The law of the repercussions that were associated with those offenses, that wasn't even sin. That wasn't bad. But we're seeing, you know, kind of negative results, net negative. Is the law sin? God forbid. Nay, I had not known sin but by the law. This is how we're identifying how sick we are as a people. Like, this stuff needs to get pointed out. The way that these young men and women are dressing, that needs to be pointed out. People might talk about, you know, take it easy on them. Like, yeah, like we're not going to stone them to get to death for, you know, wearing the ass out like that. But somebody needs to tell them to pull your pants up, pull that skirt down. You know, these young men, they got these skinny jeans. They're supposed to be tight as hell. How the hell they hanging off your ass? You got a belt on, man. You're wearing a belt. And some of your whole, it's wild. I don't know if all the other cities are like this, or God forbid it's just a Milwaukee thing and we're the only ones stuck with it. But maybe that's for the best, that it's only plaguing one community at a time. God forbid this reaches Chicago. I don't know if it's too late for them. I don't know. Slovakia. Nay, I had not known sin but by the law. This is what let us know what behavior was, you know, correct and incorrect. For I had not known lust except the law had said, thou shalt not covet. So Paul is, and we can get into, it's like we're about at that time. But Paul is going, you know, what he's articulating here is that the law is, there we go. The law isn't at fault. We abuse the law. And we would not know the offense that we're making if we did not have the law established to show us where we're going wrong. So even if the punishments are no longer associated, or at this time, if the punishments are no longer called for, if you're committing adultery, you should still be educated on the fact that you're committing adultery. Maybe you didn't know, because again, the world that we're living under right now, really, you can only commit adultery if you got that letter of marriage. That's the only way that you can be committing adultery according to them. So if, as a man, if you got one woman, you couldn't have another relationship under their paradigm. You couldn't have a relationship with another woman legally, lawfully to them, unless you got rid of that first one. And then you got this concept of no fault divorce, where it gave women like all the leeway in the world to divorce from their relationship, divorce their husbands, just pretty much on a whim, because they're no longer as happy as maybe, you know, during the first honeymoon phase. Bro got old and fat, and she still thinks that she looks too good to be attached to something like this. So she needs to go find another man, go find happiness elsewhere. Happiness is such a Trojan horse into destruction. And again, that's one of those things that we were talking about the other day when Adawan Lacombe was teaching a class. I think it was last Monday then, where we're being brought up around the concept of good and positive and pleasure is synonymous, are synonymous with each other. That so long as you're happy, so long as your pleasures is being met, you must be doing something good. That's a positive, check in the box. Lamar Odom was happy when he was in that brothel. It didn't turn out too well for him. He had to be shown that his conduct was wrong before he turned his life around. And unfortunately, that's the case for too many of us. And that story is 11 years old. But that is very, very relevant to even right now, to 2026. Like, people aren't still going through that same self-destructive cycle. I highly recommend for any so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian man, woman, and child to contact the UPK school near you. This is how we're going to rebuild our nation. Because, again, they'll let you prosper all you want as an individual. So you can sit right next to P. Diddy. You can end up like, damn, they just said his name again. Salakia, I want to get his name right. The young brother who was unalived by the Moabites. I'll get this brother's name right. Cyrus. The brother Cyrus, Salakia. I think last time I said something like Cecil or something like that. Salakia. To the brother Cyrus. Cyrus Carmack Belton. That was a recent overturn. So Salaki, it looks like this had occurred a while back, a few years ago. Had been in litigation for a few years, and he had just been found innocent of it. Unbelievable. So we can stop seeing our people end up like the brother Carmelo Anthony. In jail now. They are loving that sweat equity that they're getting off of Black and Hispanics. We need to divide ourselves from this kingdom spiritually. That's going to take recognizing what sin is, defining what sin is, and what laws we are expected to follow. This includes dumb things like cutting out weed, cigarettes, birthdays, pork, unclean foods. No more interracial relations. If you got a heathen as your partner, if you've had sex with them, if you've had intercourse with them, that's what consummates a marriage. And you don't need that piece of paper by the courts, according to God. If you had sex with that person, you are bound. You are now married to that person, to that man and to that woman. Now y'all married. That's how God looks at it. According to the Bible, sex is marriage. This is why you need to take your relationship serious, who you're picking serious. And you can't give it a stupid argument of you can't help who you love. You sure as hell can. You sure as hell can help who you love. Our oppressors do it every day, right in front of us. They show us almost exactly how it's done. They're running a clinic on proving that you can choose who you love. You might have a better argument than saying you might not be able to choose who you're attracted to. That would be a better argument. But that's such a base, primal, savage, immature reaction to have, just based on attraction, to go cross that line with. And I'll definitely say in this day and age, go find out that woman's background. Ask about who her father is, because there might be somebody that fits your physical description, your demographic, a man or a woman. If you're a man or a woman, respectively, and no homosexuality. That's not a line that we cross either. But as a man being attracted to a woman, there might be a specific kind that you're more drawn to than others. You can find that woman in the nation of Israel. You can find her amongst our population. You don't have to go breaking that code of honor that, again, our forefathers had established with the Most High, this covenant that we are under, the New Testament, the new covenant that we are under. You don't have to go break that honor for your own lustful satisfactions. Yeah, you might not be able to help what you're attracted to, that outward physical appearance, but you can absolutely help jumping into bed with that person. Contact the school near you, man. You got any questions, comments, or concerns? Go find out about it. Pay your tithes while you're at it. That's what's going to help us continue pushing the programs, pushing the events, opening up our high holy days and events even more on even bigger stages and platforms to have more people accompanied, accommodated for. Midwest Fire Weekend, July 31st. Midwest Fire Weekend in Chicago, July 31st. September 11th, 9/11 is going to be the Feast of Memorial of the Blowing of the Trumpets, which I'm going to love being a part of that class. The signal, the blowing of the trumpet, sounding the alarm on 9/11. Let's go. All right, we'll leave you to it. Israel, shalom. Yahweh Shem Yashah, Barakatham to the brothers. Yahweh Shamar Latam, Bashem Yashah to the sisters. Contact the school near you. Pay your tithes. Shalom.